I think I'm going to call this video the mystery eBay computer. Basically, I was on eBay and looking around for like random old computer stuff and came across this listing. Yes, it's literally listed as host/home computer, and the description isn't that much better. It's describing it as 9 months old, doesn't work. Don't really know what's wrong with it, it's not really that useful. So I thought, well, it's a tenner, it's only 9 months old, so how bad can it be? So here it is. So yeah, I've opened the top of the box, but I've not opened it. I've not actually taken it out yet, so it's going to be a total mystery. So we'll investigate together. It's also important to note that I didn't remove any packing materials. It literally didn't come with any. It was basically shoved in the box. So this is not how you pack a computer, strangely enough. Yeah. So also interesting to see how many pieces it's in. So try and get out this box. You can see how broken it is. It's literally just wrapped. They've literally wrapped it in cardboard and shipped it. But the key thing is that I paid £10 to PC and about £7.50 or so for shipping. So that was pretty good value in the end, even if it's knackered, because yeah, at the age it can't be that bad. So I've got a PC out. Okay, so yes, that's not meant to happen. The front's not meant to sort of be hanging off the PC like that. I think they've kind of broken it because yeah, that's not great. And there's lots of random bits of plastic rattling around in the box, so that's that there. So, yes, so this is what we have here. Yeah, the front's kind of hanging off now. I mean, the clips are all here, but they've all broken off. It's probably not worth fixing. It feels like a pretty crappy old cheap case, but you know, hey ho. It was a tenner. I can't really complain. I've got other cases I can probably chuck it in. So yeah, that's broken. There's the front of it. So there's the PC. It's, oh god, the front's falling off totally. Okay. Yeah, so the case is knackered, but oh well. But what I'm noticing here, pretty decent thing, that is an AMD FX sticker. So that's not bad in a HyperX sticker. So that'll be HyperX memory, and that will be an AMD FX processor. So that's actually not bad, assuming the stickers aren't lying. Also on the side here, I'm not sure if it's got the customer's name on it, but it's listed, it's also been checked in somewhere for repair, and it's got power circled on it, so I'm guessing that's obviously been taken to a repair shop for not powering on, which is what the listing said, but I'm not overly fussed. So let's take a look at the back and see what we have. Well, we have, I'm trusting that front not to fall off, it's not great. So yeah, let's see what we have around the back. So we have a very dodgy looking power supply, oh god. Yeah, this, if I had to guess why it's not powering on, this is probably it. Basically you shouldn't, like on a machine that's 9 months old, you shouldn't have a power supply that's got an 80mm fan. They're just not a thing nowadays. And it should not have a voltage selection switch. That's just old. This is a classic thing. It's either an ancient power supply or a really low quality generic thing. I'm probably guessing both, and I'm probably guessing an ancient low quality generic one. Down here we can see the I/O shield, which actually isn't bad. It's got VGA, DVI, 4 USB ports. They're not USB 3 or anything, but they're USB, Ethernet, audio, and there is a video card down here. Now it's a low-end looking card. Only see what it is inside. It's probably a pretty crappy card, but it's got one. It's got HDMI output. It exists, and an 80mm fan in the back, which actually, yeah, that is a Maplin logo. For people that don't know, Maplin is a UK electronics retailer, a bit like Radio Shack in the US. They're getting better, but still, if you're seeing machines with components from Maplin, it probably not the best machine. On the plus side, despite the case being absolutely horrible and falling off, it's got thumb screws, so that we can actually take it apart quite easily. So I'll put it on its side. Oh, you see it there? Yeah. Put it on its side. We'll take it apart and see what's inside. That front is totally knackered, so that's not really going to be any use. But I'm not that fussed. I mean, I can get a new case for it. Pretty nasty case anyway. Just take the side off. But again, for under £18, probably can't complain. So that comes off. Oh dear, I've seen that power supply. That's scary. I want to cry now. Oh god, no way. That's an SST. Bloody hell. Okay, that's got an SST. I'm quite surprised. That's okay. We'll go into that. I'm quite excited now. Not that upset about the case being broken, but yeah, this is like the cheapest case I've ever seen. Like, well, it's not the cheapest I've ever seen. It's quite cheap. Yeah, but it's got a bloody SSD. Okay, so let's see what else we have inside, ignoring the fact the front is totally hanging off and making it a bit impractical to work with. First thing, the power supply. I'll take the camera off the tripod and we'll take a look inside. So let's take a look what we have here. This screams to me of built by a small computer shop that really probably needs to learn what they're doing before they build PCs. It's not great, this power supply. Oh dear, win power. Yep, that is going straight in the bin. Even if it works, it's going straight in the bin because not using it. Total output power, 500 watt maximum. That's definitely a lie. It's just crusty and doesn't look right at all. Doesn't smell burnt, but yeah, that's probably going to be why it's not powering on, I've had to guess. Here we have the motherboard. It's actually, I mean, it's Gigabyte. So, there you can see down there the model. It's not the brightest. I'm going to try to turn a light on, see if you can see it. Yeah, there we go. It's 70 LMT S2P. It'll be a 760G based board. They're not great, but can't complain for the price. And there's our Maplin fan again in the back. There's the heatsink. Don't know what processor's in. We'll power it on first. I don't fancy taking the heatsink off yet. I might do it though, just to be safe, but I'm guessing it's some sort of FX, which is pushing it a bit for this board, but it will support it. And there's RAM. I don't know what RAM that is. I'm guessing 4 gig if I had to guess. It's Kingston of some sort. Doesn't have a capacity on it. I must take it out and see what it says on it. Here's a sticker RAM we have. Still doesn't have a capacity on it. Yeah, that's... I don't get when components do this, like hard drives as well, when they don't actually put the capacity on it, they just sort of go, yeah, it's a stick. I've had to guess probably 4 gig for a machine like this. There is a video card. Don't know what it is, don't know if it says in the back. It is, yeah, there we go, it's a GeForce 210. See there, it says EN210 on it. They're obviously not great again. Better than the onboard stuff this machine has. It's the onboard graphics on this machine is terrible, but it's still not great, but it's got it. This is a cable obviously going to the front panel audio headers, which are now hanging off the front of the machine. The power supply here, oh dear, oh no, oh no. Yep, Molex dangling around, and then we've got a couple of SATAs which are actually unplugged. So yeah, they're hanging off. I'm guessing what's happened is they've taken it to a shop to get it repaired, and they've been like, yeah, the power supply's gone, and they've decided not to repair it and sold it for a tenner, which was a bit silly because it's worth way more than that. It's actually got 2 SATAs in the power supply, so it's actually not as old as I thought it would be. It's still rubbish. It's still not getting touched with the barge pole. And here we can see it's actually got a post speaker connected. That's nice. Obviously front panel connections, pair SATA cable. It's all only SATA 2. These old chipset boards don't really support more than SATA 2. But yeah, so we can see storage over here. So there's that SSD I was really excited about. I mean, wow. I can't really see what it is. It's a Corsair Force LS, I think. Yeah, Corsair Force LS, and it's 60 gig according to the sticker. Can't quite get the camera to see it, but you can maybe see it in there. Where's it gone? Maybe it's not. I can't really make it out. It's 60 gig, so it's not terrible. Hard drive. Let's see if we can find this. It is. Oh god, the front's falling off. It's a Hitachi Cinema Star, October 2008. So that's probably an old drive. I mean, it could have come out of someone's old PC. Don't know how big it is. 320 gig. So yeah, it's not great, but it's got a hard drive and it's a complete machine with an SSD. So yeah, that's pretty decent. So what I'll do is plug it in, see if it does power on, see what happens, and probably end up grabbing a spare power supply. So now the machine is hooked up, plugged in, and we're going to see if it powers on. I highly doubt it with this power supply, but we'll see. Nope, not even slightly. I kind of expected that, hence why I did bring a separate power supply through, because as soon as I saw wind power, I knew that would very likely be the problem. So as you see here, this is a fairly basic power supply, but it's decent. It's an FSP, so it's a proper brand, 300 watt, 80 plus, does the job. Got these really cheap on eBay, I think they're about £7 each. Listed as used, but they are virtually brand new. As far as I can tell, there's a part number on the side I think from a Vigilant machine. So I'm pretty sure what's happened is someone's bought a bunch of branded machines, upgraded the power supplies in the wall and sold these off really cheap. So they're pretty solid little power supplies for the price. And they're all SATA and stuff, so yeah, they're actually modern. So I'll be putting this in, and hopefully it works with this power supply. Okay, so I'm just halfway through swapping out the power supply here. And then I just noticed this. I mean, apart from the fact it weighs absolutely nothing, which really isn't a good sign, the 500 watt wind power weighs significantly less than the 300 watt FSP. I then noticed this. Power supply shouldn't rattle. So that's a bad sign. So how about we take this apart and see what on earth is making that horrible rattling noise. Okay, so here we go. I'm going to break the warranty sticker because, you know, Wind Power, that reputable company, will definitely honour their warranty on this, like, you know, without a doubt. So, undo these screws. Obviously, you should probably say, you know, don't try this at home. You know, if you take apart power supplies, you need to understand the risks. You know, they can carry lethal shocks, so don't do it unless you actually do know what you're doing. Because yeah, there's big capacitors in these things. They can carry a lot of power, even when the unit's been unplugged for quite a while. But I'm going to say I vaguely know what I'm doing here, so it should be okay. So those screws are off and top's coming off. I'm going to cringe when I see inside here. Oh god. And the top won't even come off. How nice is that? This is like such cheap, thin, rubbish metal. Like, oh god, okay, that's not even coming off. Right, I'm bending that, snapped off. There we go. Okay, I think I found the problem. Yep, that's where the fuse was. It's kind of not there anymore. And it's actually worse when I look at it this way. The corner of that thing, I don't know what component that is, RT something, whatever that is corner blown off. I mean, that's the biggest failure I've ever seen of a power supply like this. Like, I've seen them pop and fail before, but that's actually like exploded and the wires are all blackened and everything. That is terrible. Oh god, my god. That component on the board there, see the little package, the little black package? Its legs are actually blown like out the board. That is unbelievable. Now that is mental. This should serve as an example why you should never use a cheap power supply, like ever, because this happens. And in the end it blows up. It could have taken other components with it, I don't know, so we need to see if the motherboard and stuff's still okay. But not only has that blown up, that's meant the person's now got rid of the machine, wasted a lot of money, despite the fact the machine could have been fixed because some incompetent person put this in. Like, let's even find the rest of that fuse. Oh, there we go. Okay, so that's what was rattling around inside the machine. The corner of that green component that's blown itself apart was actually rattling around inside here. I don't even know where the rest of the fuse has gone. Oh, okay. Yeah, I don't know. The fuse is just gone. I can't even see remains of it inside here. That is terrible. Also, obviously noticed the very generic unbranded capacitors, tiny heat sinks. You know, there's just nothing to it. The transformer is absolutely minuscule. I mean, this is not the sort of power supply you'd want to run. Yeah, there's a branded capacitor. Never even heard of that. And oh dear, yes, that's not a brand you want. I mean, you compare this to the FSP, which you can't really see inside. I don't think. I can sort of see inside there. There's just so much more to it. Like, the size of the transformer is much bigger. The heat sinks are thicker. There's way more components in there. And you can see the capacitor at the back is TPO branded, which is actually a lower end brand, but I mean, it's not going to blow up like this one. But yeah, this is really nasty. Like, this is probably one of the worst power supplies I've seen. Yeah, wow. Anyway, let's get back to putting the machine back together and getting it working. Okay, so I've now fitted the nice FSP power supply and we'll see if it works now. That's it turned on. I'll try powering on at the front. So on the TV in the background, I'll be aware the screen will come on if it does. Still nothing. Let's figure out why that's happened. Oh god, there's smoke. Yeah, it's not worked. Something else is blowing up now. Hooray. So yeah, time to take a look and see what blew up there. Okay, so that didn't go well. So I've now plugged the power supply in and I've done the trick where I've just jumpered the wires, switch it on, and I've connected this old optical drive up. I really don't care about this drive, it actually doesn't work. So I'm just going to see if it powers anything, see if it's power supply or the machine. Okay, so the power supply is still running. Yep. Power supply seems happy enough. And the drive, I didn't open it, but it did blink and stuff, so it is also getting power. So you can tell the machine itself is actually working, but something shorted out somewhere. So I don't know if that's the board or the, anything, but something's blown up. It could be that this was damaged by the broken power supply or caused the power supply to fail. Obviously my good one hasn't failed because it's a good one. I can't see any sort of headers that are obviously in the wrong place. So what I'm now going to do is just strip the machine down to the bare minimum, and we'll test all the components individually and see what sort of result we get, see if we can find a faulty component. And then again, even if it is the motherboard that's gone, which it could be, I still got stick of RAM, quad-core processor, at least quad-core, don't know what it is yet, some sort of graphics card, SSD and a hard drive out of it, and a very broken case. So, even if it is a motherboard, for a tenner, still not bad. Okay, yeah, so what happened there is I switched it on and smoke came out. So that wasn't very good. Could be the motherboard, could be killed by the bad power supply, or the motherboard could have gone faulty and killed the power supply. Either way, something went wrong. What I've now done is, just as a rough test, I've stripped the machine down to the bare minimum. I've taken all the parts out, so if this blows up, it won't kill any other components. I've even taken the processor out, not expecting it to work, so I'm just going to, if it blows up it's fine, if not it'll probably beep or not blow up and I'll know there's maybe some hope. Here's the processor. I'm not going to clean the thermal compound off. As far as I can tell, I think it's an FX 4300. It's on the underneath the sort of thermal compound I can see FD 4300 WMW 4MHK. So the 4300 sounds a bit like an FX 4300, which, I mean, it's only the quad core chip. It's the lowest end FX, but it's a quad core chip for a tenner. It's obviously assuming the chip isn't failed. It could have failed if the power supply shorted or the motherboard's gone really bad, but hopefully not. I'll test the RAM out. I don't think I can test this. I don't think I've got a compatible motherboard, but I can worry about that later. But we'll see what happens. I've also got a glass of water on standby just in case. So I'll switch the power supply on. Just wait a sec. Nothing there. I'm going to turn it on and we'll very quickly switch it off just in case. In fact, what I'll do is I'll zoom in on the area that I think the smoke came from, and we'll see if we can see anything come out, just for fun. Obviously, yes, I am risking my power supply. It was quite cheap. I'm not overly fussed. We'll see. So it's powered on, so let's see what happens. Nope, that's definitely dead. I could smell smoke again, but I couldn't see where it came from. It's kind of interesting, I don't know where. I think it's obviously something around the voltage regulation area on the motherboard that's blown up. It smells quite strongly of burning down that region. Unfortunately it's too strong to really notice where it's actually come from, and I can't actually see anything that's obvious. Power's off, yeah, so there's nothing too hot or anything. Oh, okay, that's actually hot. That's quite possibly the problem. There's a little capacitor there that's a wee bit too hot. I guess it's maybe this here. This little cap that's maybe gone. There's nothing else I can feel around here that feels too hot, so I think it's that that's gone. EC31. Just think that's the capacitor, right? No, I think it is. Yep, so it's definitely this capacitor here that's failed. It's, well, I can touch it now, but off camera I tried to pull the ATX power connector out and I burnt my finger on it. So yeah, this is definitely failed. It's probably not easy to see on camera, but it's really loose on the motherboard. You see that one's actually really solid. And I think the reason it's really loose is because its bottom is actually bulging out. I mean, the camera's going to refuse to focus on that, but yeah, that is properly bulging out at the bottom. Now, the component is replaceable. I mean, it is soldered to the bottom and you could probably swap it, but the thing is, in the end it comes down to what the failure was. Did the other power supply going bad cause this to fail, or did this fail because of some other fault on the motherboard anywhere, and that's caused the power supply to go? Because with my good power supply, when I was switching it on, the power supply wouldn't even start, the fan wasn't running. So what was obviously happening is it was probably kicking in the short circuit protection. There's some short circuit somewhere, and this was kicking that in, and then the power supply obviously wouldn't power up. So this is obviously gone. So yeah, I'll have to have a wee probe around with the multimeter and see how we get on. I mean, it's probably gone. It's not a good motherboard. I mean, zoom out. It's a crappy old cheap Gigabyte board. I mean, it's nothing special. It works, but it's borderline for this processor. Like, this is, as low and as old as you could get for an AMD FX chip. So in the end, it's probably a case that I'll probably end up using this machine for parts. Obviously, you know, the processor is probably going to be okay. The rest of the parts I can test. So we'll see how I get on. But yeah, I'll have a wee play with it and see if I can get on with anything. But as I said, it's probably going to end up in the bin. Okay, so what I now here have is a different PC. This is another one machine I got for free. It was, again, actually thrown out because it had a broken power supply. The minute this machine time I got the machine, it didn't actually have a hard drive or RAM, so I had to put that in myself, but it actually makes a great home theatre machine. I also added a Radeon 5450 video card purely for HDMI output. That doesn't really matter. I mean, what I've now done is I've connected all the components that should still work from the 10 quid machine, and we'll see how many of them work. So we have the GeForce 210 video card in here, we have the sticker RAM in here, which turns out is 4 gig. We have the 320 gig hard drive here, and the 60 gig SSD here. Particularly like the new modern vertical mounting hard drive of jamming it in there. But it works, so I'm now panning into TV, being quite optimistic here, and we'll see if it actually works. We can see which of these components actually work. The machine powered on this time and hasn't exploded, so that's a good sign. Let's see if it'll post. Yep, there we go, cool. So we're getting video output. Blinking away there. Don't really know why it's taking so long. Strange. So what we now have is just a blinking cursor in the top left. So that's a bit bizarre. But the rest of the machine is running, so I will take the video card out and we will try it using the other video card. Okay, so we have a bit more positive news now. Turns out that issue there was nothing to do with the video card failing or anything, it was me being an idiot. The problem is that the way the HDMI stuff's routed here, it goes through a fancy HDMI switch and all that sort of stuff. And what was happening is when I was switching the machine on, it was taking too long for the HDMI output to come on. And then it was trying to boot from the disk, and that's what the problem was. It was blinking that cursor because it was trying to boot. So I've connected that with a VGA cable now, and if we switch the machine on now, helps when you plug it in, that's useful. You'll see the machine will post, you'll get the post screen, and then it'll go to that blinking cursor. So I'm going to try and go into the BIOS. So you see there we've got that, delete, yep. So I'm now going to setup, so now we're in the BIOS, so now we can see how this is working. So we can see, yep, it's recognised that 4 gigs of memory, so we definitely got 4 gigs of working RAM. What else do we have? Do we get discs? Is it going to tell me the discs? Okay, so it has detected the Hitachi drive, so that's cool. It's also put that as a first boot device, so that's probably the issue. It's maybe trying to boot from the Hitachi disk, which probably doesn't have an operating system on it. Go into hard disk drives here, and yep, we can see it has recognised the SSD, so that is a good sign. So we might be able to get this machine to still, well, not this machine, but the parts to work. So I'm going to try and swap these around. If I can remember how to work this horrible BIOS. This is not my sort of first choice machine at all. This is a pretty cheapy, junky machine, but we'll see if it works. So we've now told it to boot from the SSD as the first boot device rather than boot from the hard drive. We'll see what happens. Beep. Blinking cursor. Oh, and it's starting Windows, so there we go. So yeah, that motherboard, those parts all work. Oh, and a blue screen. To be fair, that's kind of expected. I mean, it's booting on different hardware, so that's why. But yeah, from as far as I can tell though, I mean, apart from the fact it is stuck in a boot loop, the graphics card seems to work, the RAM definitely works. Let's just see what happens there, it's going to start repair. But yeah, the components, at least the SSD, hard drive and graphics card and RAM, all appear to work fine. Okay, so here we have the haul of the parts that actually worked and survived the blowy uppiness. So here we have it. So obviously the boring parts first, we have pair of SATA cables, GP80mm fan and the AMD CPU stock cooler. I also nicked the sort of thumb screws off the case. Yeah, they're just thumb screws, but I've put them on that other machine I was testing with there because, yeah, I may as well have them. It has screws to hold the case shut, so they'll sort that. Now let's look at the more interesting parts. Obviously we just have the 320 gig Hitachi CinemaStar hard drive. You see it's made in October 2008, so it's quite an old drive. I wonder if this is a case that the previous owner bought the machine and took their old hard drive in and got it put into the machine as a second hard drive, because that's quite an old machine. Although CinemaStar is kind of interesting. I think that's sort of designed for like DVRs and stuff, so I wonder why they got that. But yeah, it's a 320 gig hard drive. It works. Doesn't have a spin. Yeah, and it's 7200 RPM, so it is actually going to be relatively quick. It's always handy to have spare, reasonable size hard drives around. Also, what we have the Corsair Force LS SSD. This is pretty awesome. It's only 60 gig, but it's an SSD. I've not got a huge use for this, but I've got machines that have pretty big SSDs that don't really need to have them, so I might swap it out, and then I'll have a big 250 gig SSD spare to use for more useful projects. Then we also got the GeForce 210 video card. Again, not super useful, I don't really need it, but it's handy to have around as a test card. These are quite useful for that sort of thing. I currently have one of these, very similar, but it's got a dual slot backplate, so it's not useful for really testing in other machines, because if you don't have a cutout, you'd have to break panels out, and that sucks. And it doesn't work at all on a BTX machine, so this is actually quite useful. So I might, use this as my new test card. And they're pretty power efficient, and things, it's not great for anything, but it has HDMI, so if you need a sort of for home theatre machine use, it does have HDMI outputs. And we also have here, we have the 4 gigs of RAM. This turns out it is a 4 gig stick, even though it still doesn't say on it. Turns out, the number 4 on the end of the model number means it's 4 gigs. Yeah, that's really clear, Kingston. But yeah, it's pretty good. It's also quite short, which is quite nice for if you need it for some small form factor machine, or good for airflow. So yeah, 4 gig DDR3. And finally, we have the AMD FX 4300 processor. It's not obviously the most insane processor in the world, but it's a quad-core chip. It's worth a reasonable bit. Unfortunately, I don't have a motherboard to test it with, so that's not that easy to sell on or whatever, so I need to think about what I'm going to do with that. But yeah, it's a quad-core chip. So yeah, in the end, that was a reasonable haul. Sure, the machine doesn't work, but I got some decent parts out of it, and all this for 17 quid. Can't really complain. So thanks for watching. Don't forget to comment, rate and subscribe. And you can also visit my website at camerongray.me.